Hello and welcome back to another Warlords of Draenor video. This time I'm going to be taking a look at a lot of the recent information that's came out. Now, as you probably know, on the channel there was a video last night about the most recent blog post. Since that blog post though, Celestalin and Halinka have been just blazing Twitter with loads of information. Now, it is a bit unfortunate because honestly, this is the kind of stuff that should just be in a blog. So the information isn't spread all over Twitter, but I've compiled a whole bunch of the interesting things and all the specific changes that people are going to be interested in. So first of all, in this video, I'm going to cover abilities, then I'm going to cover itemization and that kind of thing, and then finally I will go over the racials, and we actually have some racial-related information for just about every single class. So first of all, they said that both Tiger Fury and the Feral's Berserk ability are staying, though Tiger Fury does border between feeling like a DPS cooldown and rotational button. Then they also said that the Water Elemental Freeze is going to be staying, however there is a minor talent which will teach Squirt, and a new ability which will share a cooldown with it, so that's kind of interesting. They also confirmed that they are going to be keeping Bloodlust / Heroism, and then Time Warp / Ancient Hysteria as just the usual raid-wide throughput cooldown. They're actually going to be removing Stormlash and Skullbanner though. Then they're also exploring the idea of Preparation becoming a passive, though they're still working out some details on it. Also, Tricks of the Trade will no longer increase damage, and basically they expect it to be used for helping to pick up ads and that sort of thing, so that's rather interesting. So for rogues, there was one thing that they talked about in the most recent post where they said that some cooldowns will only be available to a certain spec, and we actually have a rogue example of this. Combat rogues are going to have Killing Spree and Adrenaline Rush, and Assassination rogues will have Vendetta, and then Shadow rogues will have Shadow Dance, plus just some talents. Also, Shadow Blades is being removed. Then for the Hunter, Scattershot is gone, and Trap will arm and activate instantly. And then also they said that the Warbringer will be I think it's a warrior ability, will be a short stun which is off diminishing returns, and the charge will become a root. And they did like the change that they were going to make in patch 5.4.7, but they just didn't feel like it was really the time to implement that change. They have also said that they are reducing the crit damage done to players by 25%, meaning that critical hits will do 150% damage against players. This means the damage should be more consistent and less spiky. The, effect of that will be that you can't just be insta-killed because of a random lucky crit. It really just comes down to you playing against the other person and there being more of a level playing field. Then also, they said that Healodins have a whole bunch of cooldowns and they're going to be merging some of them together. And while Celestalin said that he is pushing for a Glyph of Bear Trap, which would replace Snake Trap's Snake with Bears. And I think he was joking, but you know what? I kinda want it. Now, for itemization, they said that based on their Siege of Orgrimmar trinkets, they're actually going to be holding off Amplification and Cleave as stats, at least for now. I forget the specifics of Amplification, but I know that Cleave was basically just an AoE secondary or tertiary stat. They're going to be holding off on those. A lot of the Siege of Orgrimmar trinkets were really rather unique, actually, and they were very just different to the norm, and they were a test for some of the Warlords of Draenor things. Then they confirmed that the upcoming secondary stats currently are going to be Crit, Haste, Mastery, Readiness, and Multi-Strike, and that they think that right now 5 is enough, and they're going to make sure that none of them are terrible. So that's it in terms of abilities and itemization. Of course, that is not complete information for Warlords of Draenor. Things are bound to change at some point, but that is what we know as of now. Okay, so let's talk about racials. We've actually got something for just about every single class here. So for Draenei, Heroic Presence is plus X to your primary stat and Gift of the Narrow heals for the same amount but over 5 seconds. For Dwarves, you have lost your Crack Shot and Mace specialization, but you've gained Might of the Mountain, which is a passive 2% crit damage, and then also Stone Form has been changed so that it will also remove magics and curses. However, it cannot be used while you are CC'd, and it is still not a CC break. As for the Gnomes, Escape Artist has dropped down to a 1-minute cooldown, down from 1.5 minutes, and your Short Blade specialization has become Nimble Fingers, which gives you a 1% haste. Also, Expansive Mind has been tweaked to give a 5% maximum mana, energy, rage, or runic power. Then for the humans, you've lost your mace and sword racials. The human spirit now gives you +X to 2 secondary stats of your choice, and they're still evaluating what they're going to do with every man for himself. And actually, itemization changes may mean that no nerf is needed. Next, for the Night Elves, Quickness will give you a passive 2% movement increase, which is quite nice. And then Touch of a Loon will now grant 1% haste at night and 1% crit during the day, and Shadow Meld will be unchanged. Then for the Worgen, Darkflight is going to remain unchanged. Okay, so let's move on to the Horde. For Blood Elves, you are going to gain Arcane Acuity, which is a 1% crit passive. Then Arcane Torrent will restore 20 runic power, 1 holy power, 3% mana, or some chi, etc., all that sort of stuff. And that's all they said about Blood Elves. For the Goblins, not much is changing, because they were basically at about the baseline that they wanted. Time is Money now becomes a real 1% haste, so that's true haste, not just attack/cast speed. And that's really just a subtle difference to what it previously was. As for the Orcs, they were one of the outliers that they brought down in terms of power. They have lost Axe Specialization, and Hardness is now down to a 10% stun reduction, down from 15, and Blood Fury is unchanged. As for the Tauren, Endurance now becomes X Stamina, and Brawn is a new passive which gives increased crit damage or healing by 2%. For the Trolls, they have reduced Berserking down to 15% haste, down from 20. And for the Undead, there are relatively few changes, but there are some tweaks to the scaling rate of Touch of the Grave, and Will of the Forsaken is going to be up to a 3-minute cooldown, which is an increase from the previous 2-minute one. So overall, that is what they all said during Twitter, and I know there is a little bit of overlap there with one or two of the things that I've said here and in the previous video, but I just wanted to get all that Twitter information out in one video so people could just watch it and know what the crack was. And yeah, that's really it for this bout of information. The good news is that there are going to be more blog posts to come. The next one will in fact be about healing, and just let me bring up MMO Champion here. Actually, no. Never mind. I think it's about healing and some stat balances and things. So it should be kind of interesting to see. Anyway, that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it and found some of that interesting. Do let me know what you think. And also, please bear in mind, none of this is final. This is all pre-beta. A lot of testing still needs to be done. So everything is subject to change. And also, don't take any one specific change out of context with the others, because people could say, oh, well, now Cyclone can be dispelled, this breaks the game. Well, perhaps that doesn't break the game when you take into account all the other changes that have went on. So just an example, but do be civil. Anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.